As you guys know, I'm a big fan of accuracy in rhythm games, and am also an accuracy player myself. I've always had an admiration for people approaching the playstyle in ways that not many can replicate, or pushing it to new limits that weren't thought to be possible. Over the last year or so, I have known about a player that I've shown very briefly in some videos of mine, but I figured he deserved a video on him specifically. He holds numerous number ones on Osamania, and has acquired quite a library of high-end accuracy scores. So let's take a look at the million-point mastermind himself, Kakao. According to his Osu profile page, Kakao's Osamania career started in 2017. His presence on YouTube has been pretty short as well, originally uploading Easy2DJ videos, and then slowly uploading more and more Osamania content as time went on. I can't quite remember when exactly I stumbled upon his channel, but I do remember being quite fascinating with his content. On Kakao's profile, I also stumbled upon a player named Jizel, brief shoutouts to him, who also holds tons of number ones on slightly harder maps, but sadly I wasn't able to find any live plays from him on YouTube. From what Kakao has told me, he has been playing Easy2DJ for about a decade before he played Osamania. If you guys aren't aware of what Easy2DJ is, it was a rhythm game arcade cabinet by Amuseworld that was relatively known in the early 2000s, but in 2007, Konami would eventually sue the company and Amuseworld would stop all production. From my understanding, the cabinets had extremely tight timing windows, and rarely would you see scores that had what were called all cools on it. It didn't surprise me too much that he came from this game specifically, because he converted this skill to Osamania so well. The first thing I noticed right off the bat when watching one of Kakao's live plays was his hand position. Wrist up players are a fairly rare breed in Mania, so seeing not just a wrist up player, but a wrist up accuracy player was pretty neat to see, especially as a wrist up player myself. Wrists and forearms are up at all times, very small wrist rotation, and strong accenting on anything he possibly can. It seemed like he was pretty much fit to play accuracy. It also seems like he's using some sort of membrane keyboard from listening to his key taps, as opposed to your traditional mechanical keyboard you see nowadays. His playstyle looks pretty similar to how he strikes the buttons on an arcade cabinet, so it seems like he's trying to mimic that motion on a keyboard as best as he can. So going into the score portion of this, he does hold numerous number ones on over 200 different maps, and a good chunk of these are 1 million point scores. Before I showcase some of these scores, we should go over just how hard it is to obtain a 1 million point score to begin with. In Osamania, the Rainbow 300 window does not change depending on the OD, as it stays as the normal standard of 16.5 milliseconds, which is perfectly between Judge 5 and Judge 6 on Eterna, which is a fairly tight timing window to stay within. Most people that do obtain these scores often do them on maps with either very few notes or are extremely short in length. This isn't the case for Kakao though. His million point scores don't really stem from straight 8th notes or consistent chord jacks. They're on fairly normal maps with your traditional 16ths thrown in, some LNs, and maybe some varying rhythms here and there to switch things up. When he isn't getting these types of scores, his number one scores in general will most of the time blow the second place score out of the water, whether it's by a few 300s or can even dive into the double digits. Some of these maps are well over 1,000 notes, so this definitely shows some pretty crazy consistency that almost no player can really take on. It's not like these maps are underplayed necessarily either, as there are quite a few players that have consistent showings on the leaderboards for these types of scores. It's just that he seems to be able to lock in whatever rhythm he wants and takes off from the rest of them. There's really not a lot more I can talk about this guy, as there isn't too much known about him in the community. His videos normally get around 40 to 70 views, and he has just over 100 subscribers, so I figured he deserved so much more credit, and I urge you guys to check him out. He also just started playing and uploading again, which was what more or less inspired this video in the first place. I just find him to be an overall fascinating and very satisfying player to watch, so if you're into high-end accuracy and super crisp membrane key taps, this channel's perfect for you. Thank you to all of my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you would like to see more rhythm gaming content like this, feel free to check out my Patreon along with my other links below. I'll see you all in whatever video I upload next, and take care.